how to use the Learning Strategies document. The blue highlighted text is guidance for you on what to do there. So I'm going to look at Module 2. I've edited it to show you what needs to be done. So the introduction is the first slide. Your cognitive aha is that people know the name of the module and know what to do next. It's very simple cognitive aha. Learners understand this module is about basic problem solving concepts and definitions. I'm using this highlight for comments that I put in. So that's what should be here for this. That's the aha. What you want to put down here for the header is just what the module title is. This module addresses, so each module, the intro text is going to be this module does something. And then you're going to have click the next slide to continue. In this case, this module addresses basic problem solving concepts and probably should say provides a definition for problem solving. This is really an exception to the rule, the fact that we are giving content here. Normally we don't give content, but where it's the intro slide to the course or the intro slide to the module, we have standardized text. And there's standardized text on the headers, titles, and slide or concept detail for the slider. So the next slide after the introduction to the module is the concept is defining problem solving. It's a definition. And we're going to say the cognitive aha is the learner understands what is meant by problem. They can relate this concept to challenges in their own life, and they're curious about how KeelWorks will support learning. So that's our goal. We want to generate this response. Okay. So that is the aha, and then the content. The header is an abstract header to draw the learner in, and it says, for an example, here I'm putting in a cork in the works, and we might, and then I put detailed text is again very structured for each slide that's a concept slide. In the detailed text we're going to say this lesson introduces a working definition for problem solving for the purposes of this course. Review the content below and then join the assigned activities. Again, for the slider, we're putting in content. But when we start getting down to the content below, we're not saying what we're going to do because this is just strategy. And so for the component, which is image, by the way, I moved the image component above the didactic or text component because you're going to use your image as you're doing your text. So you should probably have your image first. This component must support concept understanding. So now we're telling our designer the bar they have to jump over. This component must support concept understanding. It's not enough to have an image somehow relating to problems. It must help learners grasp your message. So they need the image needs to work with your explanation. And this is a higher bar when it comes to messages than most people are used to. It's typical in training to come up with an image that somehow relates to the subject. But that is not really useful when it comes to helping people understand. Again, this blue text is simply telling you about what you need to accomplish here. Much of what I'm saying hopefully should be in there. So now we're talking about the component, the teaching message. Provide a definition of this. And actually, I don't know why that word. Oh, okay, a definition of problem solving instead of this. Okay, didactic text addresses the definition in a way that is interesting and understandable. Use the SME content as a basis. Edit expression to support learner engagement and understanding. So in other words, you're using the SMA content, but you're not using it word for word. You're rewriting it to engage the learner and make it understandable. The content applies problem to an array of problem types. In your didactic text, be sure to tie in your header and your image. Use the Module 1 scenario to help your learner understand this definition. These are tips that I'm giving for the person who's going to be creating the storyboard approach to this explanation of what problem solving is. The difference here is we're not telling them what to say or what, we're going to use a movie or we're going to tell this story. We're not going that deep here. We're staying at a high level when we're talking about strategy. And when we're talking about the activity, Marla said learners will watch 2 YouTube videos and apply problem-solving methods. Marla's getting ahead of herself because at this stage, we don't talk about specifics about what we're doing. The only exception is with the slider header and slider text. So when we're talking about actual course content, we're going to be talking about limits, goals, things to remember, things to avoid, stuff like that. That's what we're doing on this document. The goal of this activity is to help learners to a deeper understanding of this concept. Stay within these parameters. This is what a concept, this is about a concept. This is a what concept. Sorry, I should put quote marks around that. This is a what concept, not a how concept. So for example, asking learners to explain how they would solve a problem is going ahead also in content, because we're going to be teaching them how to solve problems. We wouldn't want to ask them how they're going to solve problems before we teach them, because if they can answer it, then they don't need our course. And we're not going to put ourselves out of business. So that's one reason. Okay, so here we're saying the first activity, this is a second activity component. The first activity elicits a product from learners. Ask learners to do something. The second applies evaluative criteria peer on peer. The goal is to get learners to think, then learn through evaluation. Evaluation should apply defining criteria offered in the didactic text. So you notice all of this text is not saying what exactly the activity is going to be. It's just talking about the activity. So you get a sense of what you're supposed to do. So that is what it looks like here. In the actual storyboard, you're taking concepts and you're putting them here. Basic concepts, this module. So this is the introduction to the module. On the next slide is the first concept. You're putting the title of your concept. This statement here is simply, it's like the it's like an episode for a television show. It has a title that hints at what the show is about. That's what you want to have up here. Then you want to say what this lesson is doing. This lesson provides a definition of problem solving for the purpose of the course. This is directly what we took from our strategy document. View the presentation below and then join the activity. This might actually be, this is correct wording, but it might be not be exactly what's in the strategy document, so I should change that. All right. So we should be listing the components that we mentioned on the other one. So there's image, there's text, there's activity, and we're going to say 2 activities. And then we should be putting the page number, the slide number, excuse me. Like this is 12, so this is the image, so this should be 12. So this first slide is simply putting the proper information that will go on the slider and then indicating what components are going to be in for this slider and where you're going to find them on this film strip here. And here you have, this is the image. Notice I took the text that the descriptors text, the guidance text from the strategy document and pasted it here. Then you want to talk about, so if you have an image that you can use and an image that you have permission to use, you want to paste it here and make sure that you document your permission to use it. If you're going to take an image with a camera, you can do that and paste it here. If you don't have an image but have an idea of an image, you can describe what your image would look like here. And then you might be passing that on to a development team to either find or create that image. I'm trying to convince all of my interns to use their camera to take pictures and use those pictures as much as possible because it makes your life easier. You don't have to hunt for a picture. And you can get the more precise picture, a picture more to the point than what you can find just searching around on these libraries. So I'm going to stop my video now before it gets too long and too bulky and nobody can actually see it.